All right, let's talk about spermidine. It's a compound that's been getting so much attention lately, especially when people talk about health and longevity. You've probably seen the name pop up, right? So today, we're going to dig in and figure out what's real science and what's just, well, hype.
So here's the big question on everyone's mind. Is this stuff some kind of secret to aging well, maybe even a fountain of youth? The claims are pretty huge, linking it to everything under the sun. Let's find out what the real story is.
So, first things first, what even is spermidine? Well, it's not some new drug made in a lab. It's a natural molecule called a polyamine. And get this, it's already inside you. In fact, it's in all of your tissues. Its main job is to keep your cells working right, helping them renew and repair themselves. But here's the catch. As we age, our bodies just don't make as much of it. What's really fascinating is where we actually get this stuff from. It's almost a perfect three-way split. About a third is made by our own tissues, another third comes from our gut microbiome, and the final third, that comes from the food we eat. And this is super important because as our own internal production starts to decline, our diet becomes a much, much bigger piece of the puzzle.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to dive into the core science, what I'm calling your body's own recycling program. Then we'll tackle those big claims about hormones, sleep, and aging. After that, we get practical and talk about food versus supplements. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the key takeaways. All right, let's jump right in. To really get what spermidine does, you first have to understand this absolutely critical process in your body called autophagy. Honestly, this is where all the magic happens. The word autophagy literally means self-eating. And, that's a pretty perfect way to describe it. Just think of it like your body's built-in cleanup crew and recycling center all rolled into one. It goes around, finds old, damaged, junky parts in your cells, breaks them down, and then recycles the raw materials to build fresh, healthy new parts. It's absolutely essential for keeping our cells young and working at their best. So, how exactly does it work? It's actually this really elegant, organized system. First, the cell flags all the junk that needs to go, worn out machinery, broken proteins. Then, as you can see, it wraps all that waste up in a little bubble. And finally, it breaks everything inside down into usable bits and pieces for energy or for making new cell parts. And this is the big connection. It turns out spermidine is a major trigger for this whole process. A groundbreaking 2024 study in Nature Cell Biology found that spermidine is absolutely essential for the kind of cellular renewal we get from things like fasting. Think about that. It means without enough spermidine, that critical cleanup process just doesn't work nearly as well. Okay, so now that we know spermidine is all about boosting this cellular cleanup, let's look at some of those big health claims you've probably heard, starting with hormones. A lot of people wonder if spermidine can boost testosterone. The science right now says there's no direct link, so it doesn't act like a testosterone booster. Instead, what it does is support the health of the cells in your hormone-producing tissues. Basically, by helping those cells clean house and function better, it creates a healthier environment for your body to produce hormones in a balanced way. So it's an indirect effect, but a really important one. And what about sleep? This is where the research gets really interesting. But I should say, it's still pretty early and mostly in animal studies. What they're finding is that spermidine might help regulate our internal 24-hour clock, our circadian rhythm, which can get kind of wonky as we get older. It also seems to protect brain cells, and might even play a role in the specific brain waves we need to lock in memories while we're in a deep sleep. And all of this leads to the really big picture. You see, scientists have identified these 12 fundamental biological processes that drive aging. They call them the hallmarks of aging. We're talking about things like DNA damage, chronic inflammation. You get the idea. And what's just incredible is that spermidine has been shown to have a positive effect on 9 of them. 9 out of 12. That means it's not just fixing one little problem. It's working at a really deep level against the root causes of aging. So that brings us to the really practical question. If you want more spermidine in your life, what's the best way to get it? Should you focus on food, or should you look at supplements? Let's break it down. Okay, get ready for this because it's pretty wild. A single tablespoon, just one, of wheat germ contains somewhere between 1.2 and 1.5 milligrams of spermidine. That is a huge amount from such a simple, easy-to-find food. And just to really put that into perspective for you, take a look at this chart. Wheat germ is packing 150 to 200 milligrams per kilogram. Now, compare that to other foods that are considered pretty rich in spermidine, like aged cheese or mushrooms. I mean, it's not even a competition. Wheat germ is just in a league of its own. It is by far one of the most potent food sources we know of. So what about just taking a supplement? Well, you gotta be careful here because there's a huge difference. The best way to think about it is like this. Natural spermidine from food is like a complex, three-dimensional key. It's shaped perfectly to fit the locks on your cells. But most synthetic spermidine, it's more like a flat 2D photocopy of that key. I mean, it kind of looks the part, but it just doesn't fit or work the same way. Plus, we really don't know much about its long-term safety in humans yet.
So if you are thinking about a supplement, the high-quality ones are all about these natural, food-derived sources. You'll see them made from extracts of things like chlorella, certain mushrooms, or special grains. The whole point is to give you that natural 3D molecule that your body already knows what to do with.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. It's time to boil it all down and look at the most important things to remember from our investigation.
So here's the bottom line. First, spermidine's #1 job is to kickstart autophagy, which is your body's essential cellular recycling program. Second, a lot of its other cool benefits, like helping with hormone balance, are really just side effects of making your cells healthier overall. Third, if you want to get more from your diet, wheat germ is the undisputed champion. And finally, and this is important, while the science is super exciting, we really do need more big human studies to confirm all the claims, especially around things like sleep and hormones.
And that leaves us with a pretty deep thought to end on. Right now, we're learning more about how our bodies age at a cellular level than ever before in history. And what compounds like spermidine are showing us is that we might have way more say in how we age than we ever thought possible. So the real question is, what are we going to do with that power? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.